You take the cork out of the top of your head and drop in a word like essay or measure. Then you put in a couple of cocktails and some black coffee, put the cork back in tight, jump up and down for 2 or 3 days, and then the word will come out of your fingers onto the paper. I'm Bruce Kennett. I'm a book designer and photographer, sometime writer, live in rural New England, and I've been living in the world of Dwiggins for more than 40 years now.
I'm Rob Saunders, founder and curator of Letterform Archive, and we're proud to be publishing Bruce Kennett's book on William Addison Dwiggins.
Dwiggins is known as the father of graphic design, but his work encompasses an astonishing range of skills and genres. He was a calligrapher and lettering artist, a book designer and illustrator of the highest rank, an inventive builder of modular ornament, and the creator of over a dozen typefaces. Dwiggins was talented on so many different fronts, and he mined experiences and information that he learned from one thing that he was doing and applied it to other things that he was doing. Dwiggins discovered that when he carved marionettes with more angular faces, they read better from the point of view of the audience. He took this inspiration and changed the way that he approached type design. He called this the M formula. In the middle of the 20th century, Dwiggins was one of the most celebrated and prominent type designers working. And so his typefaces, Electra and Caledonia in particular, were in hundreds and hundreds of books. Many people feel that Electra is Dwiggins' signature typeface design. Jim Parkinson has created a digital revival of this type for the book and then will be available to backers. And for the first time, fully restores the grace and energy of this amazing, lively typeface for all of us to use. Book design originally was carried out by the printers themselves, and it was only at the time of Dwiggins that he and some of his colleagues began organizing all the material in a book as a separate operation from what was done inside the printing house. In 1922, he wrote an article reflecting on all these changes that were happening in the printing industry and suggested that commercial artists as a profession should now be called graphic designers. They weren't simply providing drawings, but that they were planning a much larger portion of the printing activity, and that needed a new word. Dwiggins was a pioneer in infographics, very much ahead of his time in a discipline that we now see as vital to communicating information and data. And he often added a human touch to these visualizations that help people to relate to it. Even though he's not best known for his work in advertising, he was a real force in the early 20th century and in fact wrote the classic manual called Layout and Advertising, which was published in 1928. His skill in maneuvering the visuals and the words together to deliver this message was unparalleled, really. In the early 70s, I was right out of school living in Boston. I spent a lot of time in the Boston Public Library, and I met Dorothy Abbey, Dwiggins' assistant, and began a friendship with her that lasted for a long time and involved a lot of visits to Dwiggins' studio in Hingham.
I first learned about Dwiggins in the 1970s when I took over teaching from a man named Ed Carr, protege and friend of Dwiggins, that visited him often in his studio, and so he had a personal knowledge of the man, which he shared with me.
Letterform Archive is the perfect publisher for this book. The archive has a large collection of Dwiggins. Rob and I have known each other for 40 years since we were both active in the lettering community in Boston in the 1970s. And for this place to be the publisher of this biography is the perfect outcome for this story.
One of the things that we want to do with the Letterform Archive publishing program is establish an extraordinary standard for quality of reproduction.
The illustrations in this book use a special kind of photography with light coming from only one direction, which emphasizes paper texture and grain and the impression from letterpress printing, something that's impossible to capture with conventional photography. and gives a real life to the reproductions. In the printing of this book, we're using stochastic screening rather than conventional. This means that when you look at a small illustration, you can even put a loop on it and read fine type, see tiny details. We're committed to delivering this experience to the readers. Dwiggins was a great writer. We often don't see his writings, but for this project, we've created a letterpress portfolio with 20 pages of his own fiction, essays, art criticism, work on type design and book design, all set in typefaces that he designed on the linotype machine and then printed by letterpress. We've then photographed those pages and reproduced them in the body of the book. The book is a great resource for anyone working in the visual arts and provides a comprehensive view of Dwiggins' career. In addition to his biographical information, there are over 100 pages that show a single illustration, one per page, many of them actual size, so that as a working tool, people who are interested in color, in form, in composition can go back to this again and again and be inspired and oriented by Dwiggins in their own work. Since 1980, I've been giving lectures about him, and eventually, when no book appeared on the horizon chronicling his work, my friend Rocky Steinauer suggested that I should do that. So in 2003, I began working on it, and with the help of everyone who's supporting this project, we'll finally see this book come out, long overdue, about this marvelous man and the richly textured life that he lived.
This is a beautifully written, thoroughly researched, fabulously designed and printed book that belongs on the shelf of every visual artist. Join us in making this book a reality and sharing Dwiggins' work with the world.